What's up, everybody? Today we're going to be doing a little talk through about the towns around Lake Minnetonka.
How's it going, y'all? My name is Jesse Lynch. This is Alex Pierce. We are on a real estate team here in the Twin Cities. We're called To the Twin Cities. Go ahead and check out our website, tothetwincities.com. But this YouTube channel is all about helping you find a place to call home here in the Twin Cities of Minnesota. And that's whether you're moving here from across the state, across the country, across the planet, or just across town. And then we also like to focus on helping people who are buying a house for the first time. So first-time home buyers and relocations. That is what we do better than anybody else, and that's what this channel is all about. So if you're into either of those things, subscribe to the channel, click the bell to get notified, give the video a thumbs up, and say what's up to Alex in the comments. We would appreciate that very much. And as always, if you're thinking about moving here, do whatever you can to get a hold of us. Go to our website, tothetwincities.com, email us at info@tothetwincities.com, or call or text the number on the screen. We can't wait to meet you. Can't wait to show you around the Twin Cities. We both just love it here, and we're excited to share it with you. Like Alex said at the top, this video is all about the small towns that sort of encompass the Lake Minnetonka chain or the chain of lakes around Lake Minnetonka. Lake Minnetonka is a huge mass of water, and it's not like other lakes where it's like a clear kind of defined circle. It's very oddly shaped, and it has several different bays, and almost they just look like they're almost separate lakes, but it is all one greater Lake Minnetonka. And in general, it's just a place that a lot of people really want to live. It's a very desirable place. And my man Alex grew up in Wayzata, which is the first town that we're starting with right now, Wayzata, Minnesota.
Like Jesse said, I grew up in Wayzata, and I wouldn't have wanted to grow up anywhere else. It's a nice little gem west of the cities. You know, everything from after school, going down to, the downtown area and hanging out by the water and getting ice cream with friends, to football games. Wayzata it's hard to beat. Wayzata Public Schools are some of the best in the state. Niche.com gave Wayzata Public Schools an A+, and it consistently ranks in the top 5 in the state.
Yeah, it's obviously like super desirable place as far as schools go. It is an awesome vibe. We have a virtual tour on it.
Check it out.
Just super, super nice spot. I remember saying it felt like almost like Maine or something like that. If you go there during the summer or the winter, it's going to almost feel like a northeastern, just like small town on the ocean, but it's not the ocean, it's Lake Minnetonka. Median home prices are pretty high in Wayzata. That's a little bit of an understatement. They come in at $1.2 million for median single family home prices. And those prices that median, that metric is somewhat volatile. And that's true of a lot of these areas that we're looking at. The number kind of like goes up and down a bunch. That doesn't mean, it's not like the stock market where like home values actually change that much, but it's more directly related to there's a relatively small amount of homes that sell. And there are some very big ticket homes that will sort of skew that, right? Where you can get an $8 million house in Wayzata, and you might find a handful of, $2 million plus homes are selling in Wayzata, and that's going to definitely drag that median up. A year ago to date, it was a $720,000 median, which is a pretty dramatic change. But again, it's not to say that the prices are actually fluctuating that much. It does just kind of show that there is a huge range, and there are some really high-end homes in Wayzata that will sell. And there are a lot of really, really high-end, beautiful homes, like some truly gorgeous homes in Wayzata, and that's going to affect that number. But even a not very nice home isn't going to be particularly cheap. The cheapest house on the market right now in Wayzata is a teardown. It's literally deemed unsafe to live in, and it's like $390,000. So that is going to be a scrape, right? People are going to basically rip that down, put up a brand new home, and it's going to go from, $400,000 to $1.4 million or something like that.
And that's something you see a lot of down there, people coming in and just wiping out all the homes and building up big new ones. So that's something I've experienced while living down there and growing up over there.
Yeah. And then so we're going to move from kind of the northeastern edge. Actually, it's mirrored. So the northeastern edge of Wayzata, and then we're going to wrap around the lake, head west, and then south under the lake as we talk about it, just so you kind of know what we're doing here. The next spot we're really talking about is Orono. We have a virtual tour of Orono that just got done. It should be out just before this video. And Orono, super great spot. It kind of lacks some of the cutesy downtown on the lake vibe that Wayzata has, and really any downtown. Like, there's hardly a downtown of Orono. There's some commercial stuff, but it doesn't have sort of the identity of Wayzata, but it is still a super desirable spot.
Right. And I think if there's any downtown of Orono, I would actually argue it's Long Lake, which is a smaller town inside of Orono. But as far as the entire area of Orono, it's kind of one of those areas close enough to the cities, but far enough out where it feels like you're out in the country. And I think that's what a big attraction to Orono is.
Yeah, and the schools in Orono are all really top notch. That's something we should note, that the schools of all of these places are all A. At the very least an A. Wayzata gets an A+. Minnetonka gets an A+. Orono, I think, gets an A, but it's rated super, super high. I think it's rated 87th best in the nation for schools. So that's pretty crazy. Yeah, to be even top 100 in the nation is pretty cool.
Yeah, all the schools are on the same street, and it's elementary, middle school, high school. So I don't know, I think it's a lot more convenient having them right next to each other, but you don't get to explore new places when you move from one to the other.
That's fair. Yeah, you don't get the feeling of like, hey, I'm out of middle school and now I get to go to this like new place. It's like you get to go right next door.
Yeah, I get to go one block down.
Yeah. Median single family home prices in Orono is $950,000, and that's from in the last month, which is basically August of 2021. And the Orono home sale stats are a bit more consistent. There were 179 sales in Orono in the last month. So it's just a little more reliable metric. The sales aren't quite as wacky as some of these other spots that are smaller areas.
Yeah. Another area that is also in the Orono Public Schools District is Minnetonka Beach. So if you're looking at a map, it's south of Orono. It's kind of a peninsula that comes out onto the western side of Lake Minnetonka. And Minnetonka Beach is also an awesome spot to live.
I believe a huge portion of it, maybe like a quarter of it or something, is a golf course. It's called the Lafayette Golf Course.
Lafayette,
yeah. Lafayette Golf Course or Golf Club.
Country Club.
Yeah. Not a golfer, sorry. So those homes are pretty awesome. There's pretty insane sort of country club homes kind of all on that peninsula. Almost every home there, it seems like, is lakeshore. I'm sure there are some that aren't, but it feels like most of them are because it's not that big of a peninsula.
Right. I think there's one or two roads that go out onto that peninsula. So all the homes are on each side of the road.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts. Median single family home price for Minnetonka Beach is $1.8 million. But there's like 20 sales a month. So, and the line, if you look at a graph, the line of median home prices is so wacky in Minnetonka Beach, but it's just because there's so few home sales, because there's such few homes. So, if you have like a good month where a handful of the, $5 million homes sell, well, then it's going to kind of skew those numbers quite a bit. But a lot of really, really cool houses. I think there's an $8 million house for sale right there, right now. And it's so cool. It is really, really cool.
The next place we're looking at is Mound. And that's if you head west of Minnetonka Beach. It's kind of like more inland, but it also has parts that touch Lake Minnetonka. Mound is part of West Tonka Public Schools, which also get an A rating on niche.com. And as a whole, Mound is kind of a more interesting place.
So for one, it's the cheapest median home price of anywhere on Lake Minnetonka. The median home price is around $350,000, which is so much lower than these others. Like, it's the lowest by quite a bit. And I feel like back in the day, Mound felt like a small town, like a country town almost. And still sort of has some of that, like that soul of being like a more rural town. People weren't exactly building new builds or anything like that, but it's very interesting. We helped a client from Thailand. Don't want to give too much away. Shout out Peter family. He was super into Mound. He ended up not buying in Mound, but there is some of the draw. It has so much of the natural beauty of all these other spots as far as being close to the lake. It's by far the most affordable. It has the really, really good schools, but it's interesting in that it's just not quite as like elevated a place as far as what the homes feel like. But it is fascinating. You can look at a house for $300,000, drive 4 houses away, and there'll be a $4 million house that butts up to the lake. It is interesting. Also, Mound is just kind of a sliver. It's just kind of a long, like, rectangle.
There's a lot of weird shapes around Lake Minnetonka.
Yeah, but it's just an odd shape, and there's water on both sides of it. Yeah, it's interesting in the fact of there's a little more of like what we call echoes of a rural past. So take that as you will, but that is probably the most interesting part or the most unique part of that.
I think,
Mound.
yeah, definitely one of the most dynamic areas around Lake Minnetonka.
Yeah, and I think we were talking it for how cheap it is. Doesn't seem like the worst place to buy, to invest. You know, if you're counting on an area to sort of like boom and the land to become more valuable, Mound doesn't seem like a terrible guess.
It feels like an up and coming area.
This isn't financial advice.
No.
Okay, it's possible that we said that Mound was an Orono school district. We can't remember. We're not going to play back the tape, but it's actually in the West Tonka school district.
And West Tonka schools receive an A on niche.com. Another school that's in the West Tonka school district is Spring Park. And I describe Spring Park as kind of the arm that goes out into Lake Minnetonka from Mound. So if you're looking at Mound, it's the eastern arm that kind of pulls into Lake Minnetonka. And like a lot of other areas around Lake Minnetonka, it's kind of one of those peninsula towns, small, cute little town. And my favorite part about Spring Park is the Minnetonka Drive-In. I think we mentioned this in another video, maybe in the Minnetonka virtual tour, but I used to do bike rides out with my friends all the way to Spring Park and go to the Minnetonka Drive-In, eat a bunch of burgers and shakes, and then bike like the 10 miles back. And yeah, it was fun, but it was brutal.
And yeah, so I think it's worth noting, yeah, Minnetonka Drive-In, not drive-in movie theater, like drive-in restaurant, obviously the burger thing, but I don't know, you could watch a movie and eat a burger.
They probably did back in the day.
Yeah, they probably did. So, and then also Spring Park, not to be confused with Spring Lake Park. Spring Lake Park is just like a northern suburb of the metro. Spring Park is this little town. And yeah, as far as like identity goes, it's pretty much houses and you got the drive-in, but it's a lot of these smaller little arms or peninsulas there's not going to be a ton of identity. That's kind of why we're doing this video that includes everything instead of doing a virtual tour on each individual one. There'd be some pretty boring virtual tours.
They'd probably be like 60 seconds long.
Yeah, it'd be like, here's a street, you know? So next spot, we're talking still in West Tonka schools is Minatrista.
Yes. Minatrista is the furthest west town that borders Lake Minnetonka.
Yeah, and it's decent sized. As you go further and further west away from the lake, it starts to get a little more rural, and it has a fair amount of lakeshore that touches it. So you're still gonna be able to find gorgeous lake homes on that western shore. Probably get really great sunrises, but yeah, just know that sort of as you go west, it's going to get more and more rural. I would say that the northwestern chunk of Minatrista is basically going to be sort of just land. And fun fact, St. Bonifacius, it's like a little town that's fully engulfed in Minatrista. I don't know. I thought that was weird.
You can live in Minatrista and still get those A-rated schools in the West Tonka School District. And the single-family home price out there has a median price of $620,000.
Yeah, and then we're going to hop into the next place, the next school district, really, which is going to be East Carver County School District, and that's going to bring us to
Victoria. And Victoria is within the East Carver Public School District, which also receives an A on niche.com. And to be honest, I don't know a whole lot about Victoria. I didn't spend a lot of time over there. The things I did hear about it, though, is, hearing from friends that they went out to Victoria to visit family and go on the water last weekend or something like that.
Yeah, I feel like it's a little bit of an older vibe there, but I have been seeing, I drove through there not too long ago, and there are some new builds going up in Victoria that are like really, really gorgeous. Again, A-rated schools, they're on Lake Minnetonka. It's just a matter of time before those get fully developed and just kind of start to pop. Victoria isn't a tiny town. There's 207 sales in the last month with a median price of around $575,000.
Victoria is the only town that surrounds Lake Minnetonka that's in the East Carver School District, but if we head to the southern border of Lake Minnetonka, that brings us to
Tonka Bay. Okay, Tonka Bay is a weird spot. It's a weird little arm in...
It's got like 3 arms.
Yeah, it's a strange spot, and it also is served by 3 different school districts. It's the only one of all these spots we're looking at that has 3 different school districts.
Yeah, and I think that's because it's literally in the middle of all these 3 school districts. Like there isn't one that's obviously closer than the other. But those 3 school districts are Orono, West Tonka schools, and Minnetonka schools.
Yeah, and so again, they're all A-rated. So you can't exactly go wrong. Maybe if you want Minnetonka, you want that A+, you're going to have to make sure that you're in the right spot to actually get those Minnetonka schools. Tonka Bay has a median sale price of $1.2 million right now. Again, not a ton of sales going on there, so it's a little bit of a wacky graph, but for sure, it's not cheap. And again, a ton of Tonka Bay is going to be lakefront.
A cool spot right next to Tonka Bay is Big Island. And during the summer, if you have a boat and you're on Lake Minnetonka, you'll always hear about people going to Big Island for the day or for the July celebration.
Yeah, for sure. I've never actually spent any time on a lake.
Yeah, I've never gone to Big Island because there was some E. coli outbreak.
Hey.
So that's why I didn't go.
Careful with your dogs probably too.
Now we're firmly in the Minnetonka School District by heading just down the road to Shorewood. Again, Minnetonka schools get an A+ on niche.com. And Shorewood is kind of a smaller area. There's not a whole lot to Shorewood like a lot of the other small areas around Lake Minnetonka. They're kind of just cute little towns and, they're lakefront towns.
Yeah, super residential area. One thing to note is as we get further east, closer to Minnetonka, it starts to be more and more convenient to the cities. So yeah, Shorewood is beautiful. A lot of really, really great houses there. You're more likely to find not lakefront houses there than some of these other spots as it's a little bit more removed or there are lakefront, but then it's a little bit bigger that way. Median sale price for single families in Shorewood is $815,000. So for sure, some beautiful houses there. And one thing that I like actually is that some of the area that's not lakefront, and I guess this is true of a lot of these places, but there's some really beautiful wooded areas there.
And I think Minnetonka as a whole is one of the prettiest areas in all the Twin Cities just because it's so enveloped in nature.
Yeah, actually, not super long ago, I was flying home and flew over the Lake Minnetonka chain, and it just reminded me of why I live here. It's just lush, green, it's all water and green and kind of
can't
hard,
beat it.
It's hard to argue with. Next up, we're talking Excelsior. Excelsior is a cool little town. It's maybe has the most identity of any of these places. Wayzata is probably up there on it, but as far as being a place to go to hang out in the downtown area, Excelsior is for sure pretty high up on that list.
Yeah, Excelsior is one of those places that definitely has a lot more history to it. When I think of the oldest areas around Lake Minnetonka, I think of Wayzata and Excelsior. And that's just because you can tell by going through there that it's a town that's been around for a long time. But at the same time, it's still a fun place to hang out, go to some restaurants, go shopping and whatnot.
Yeah, it's definitely not dumpy at all. Still super nice. Got this cool old historic lakefront downtown with cool shop. I feel like there's an antique store there that I've gone to. Why is everything antique stores with me? But you still get A+, rated Minnetonka schools. You're a little bit further out than Minnetonka. A lot of really beautiful lakefront property and median single family home price of around $740,000.
I went there a couple times growing up to watch the 4th of July fireworks. It's a cool little area.
I feel like I actually even did that and I wasn't even from by that lake. Yeah, next up is Greenwood, another relatively small spot. Not a whole lot of identity, but if you're just looking for a spot to get a really beautiful home in a really beautiful area, Greenwood is definitely worth checking out.
Yeah. A lot of these small areas are pretty similar. There's not, like you said, a whole lot of identity to it. So, Shorewood, Greenwood, they're a little bit further back from the lake, but they're all tucked in nature.
Yeah, and
so they're beautiful spots.
And there's only 14 sales in Greenwood in the last month. Median home price is $1.2 million. So again, not huge, but a lot of huge houses.
Just east of that, Deep Haven, same kind of idea. Not a whole lot of identity, but still in that Minnetonka school district that gets an A+.
Looked at a house there with some friends, Allison and Zach, and it was this crazy house. Very weird kind of story to it, but the architect was the guy who created a Metrodome. So it was this very brutalist, really interesting house in the middle of this wooded area. Super, super cool. They didn't get it. A lot of potential money just being thrown at it. It also was like 1.5 acres or something like that. So just that alone in those areas is going to be really expensive, really competitive. It was cool. And that brings us to the last piece of the Minnetonka puzzle, Minnetonka itself. For sure, the biggest suburb, probably the most OG suburb out of all of it, the most thoroughly developed and the most diverse in the sense of housing stock, lifestyle.
Yeah, it's going to be a different lifestyle if you're on the west side, closer to the lake, as opposed to if you were on the east side, closer to Hopkins.
Some of Minnetonka is actually in the Hopkins School District, so that's worth considering. Hopkins School District, not bad, but not as good as Minnetonka.
It's hard to compete with that one.
Yeah, Minnetonka, again, always in the top 5, often in the top 2 in the state. Very, very highly rated schools, like we kind of said. But yeah, something to note is that if you want to make sure you're in that, you can't just be in the town of Minnetonka. You have to make sure that you're actually in the school district of Minnetonka. And there's a chance that you could open enroll, but I would say don't count on it. Definitely look into that. Stuff that we can look into that for you as well.
Median single family home price is at $520,000, which is more relatively affordable than some of these other areas we looked at, but at the same time, if you're going to try and get up against the lake, that price is going to shoot up a lot.
Yeah, some of the most expensive homes I would say are going to be in Minnetonka proper because it's convenient to the cities. But then, yeah, as you go east, as you go closer to Hopkins, it's going to be a lot cheaper. Even there's a cheaper area in Hopkins School District versus being in Minnetonka School District. The homes tend to be a little bit cheaper. You can get a little more house for your money in that Hopkins School District. But if you're more after the lifestyle, the Minnetonka lifestyle, then you're going to head west, closer to the lake, and you're going to have to pay for it.
Yeah, similar to Mound in a way, but not as extreme as Mound. Minnetonka is so big that there's a large variety of home prices. You know, the ones that are at $520, but as you get closer to the lake, they're going to be over $1 million.
For sure. Yeah, you can get into it for maybe $400K, right? But you can also easily spend a couple million if you want Lakeshore. But yeah, so anyways, that's it. That's all of the towns around Minnetonka. And we just wanted to do a talk through. We will eventually do a walkthrough, a virtual tour of kind of all of these spots, but it's almost just nicer to hear it and to sort of visualize that you can rest assured that kind of no matter what, any of these towns, you're going to get good schools, you're going to get like beautiful nature. And there's so many of these spots that we're just not going to do a virtual tour for. I mean, Tonka Bay, it would be a nothing video. You know, it'd be just like, hey, here's a couple cool spots and that's it. So rather than doing that, we're probably going to do this one to kind of like talk you through geographically. And then we'll do kind of another one of showing you more immersive of like, here's what it feels like to be here.
Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, hit that bell to get notified, and say what's up in the comments.
Yeah. As always, if you're thinking about moving here, do whatever you can to get a hold of us. Website is tothetwincities.com. Email us at info@tothetwincities.com. Call or text the number on the screen. They all lead to us. We truly cannot wait to help you. We have been busy and it is so much fun. Can't wait to meet y'all. Can't wait to show you around. And yeah, thanks for watching this video. We did it. Hope that was helpful. See you guys later.
Peace.